One thing I always do when watching Minions and Gru movies is laugh a lot. But do you have any idea how many small, almost completely hidden details exist in the franchise's films? For example, if you watch Despicable Me 3, you'll definitely remember when the Minions rebelled and ended up in a penitentiary where they became the bosses. And in the scene where we see several of them gathered on the prison steps, we notice that one of them is holding a toilet plunger and making a mean face. You probably didn't know, but this is the same Minion that appears in Despicable Me 4 in the bus scene, taking the yellow beings to the AVL headquarters, using the same plunger on another Minion in the middle of all that chaos. In that same prison scene, one of the Minions has a banana stuck to his eye visor. Kind of like prisoners do in movies, but they usually have a cigarette behind their ear or are holding one in their hand. In fact, if we look closely, there's another Minion just below this one who is actually pretending to smoke a banana. And we can still see another Minion using a banana as a harmonica, just like prisoners do too. Seriously, when I noticed this, I laughed a lot. The thing Minions definitely love the most is bananas. There are many details like these that most Despicable Me fans never even noticed. And it seems someone on the Illumination animation team is really a big Disney fan. Because if you think about it, in Minions 2, in the scene where Gru and Knuckles go to the Bank of Evil, there are many similarities to one of Disney's biggest hits of the 2000s, Up. If you remember well, you'll see that Gru is dressed as a scout just like Russell. Moreover, he is accompanied by an old man with white hair, Knuckles, who corresponds to Carl from the Disney movie. A lot of coincidences, don't you think?
Oh yeah!
And to make it even clearer that someone really likes Disney at the company where Minions and Gru movies are made, you surely had the impression that when the school for supervillains appears, you had seen that castle with pointed towers and small flags on top somewhere before, right? Well, it wasn't just an impression, because it's clear that the building structure is completely inspired by the famous Disney castle. Which makes a lot of sense, since without Disney's success and its animated films, Illumination would never have created Despicable Me. So we can say it's a fair tribute. And as we mentioned in the case of the Minion with the toilet plunger, we know the franchise's films reference each other. For example, when Gru and the Minions are fleeing from the Vicious Six, Stronghold throws a van painted with various colorful flowers towards the group. If we go back to the first film with Stuart, Kevin, and Bob, you'll remember the scene where a hippie is hitchhiking and exactly a colorful van painted with various flowers stops and gives him a ride. Although they are slightly different, we can see that the same hippie symbol is on both vehicles as well as the same color pattern. I think the animators just changed a few small details so they wouldn't be completely identical, but they are definitely almost the same vehicles. I know you love to play, so check out this awesome Sonic toy for you to have fun with. Click the link in the first pinned comment and take it home. We can also find the same villain, Stronghold, in a mini poster next to Gru's bed in the same movie, which is quite ironic, don't you think? Speaking again of a scene in the first Minions movie, when the main trio of yellow creatures is in the crime family's car right after the bank heist, two of them start rummaging through the family's luggage, and we see that one of the bags has a sticker with a message that says, "Take it easy, life is short," which certainly contrasts a lot with the lives of the little yellow beings who are practically immortal and thousands of years old. Going back to the scene where Gru and Knuckles are at the Bank of Evil, we see that one of the people there during the duo's performance is a character with marine animal features, somewhat resembling how we imagine the swamp monster. What's cool is that this is the same character we now see in Despicable Me 4, as one of the ex-students of the class of '85 during the reunion where Gru captures Maxime Lemao right at the beginning of the movie. Another reference between the franchise's movies. Very cool. In the same scene, where Knuckles pretends to have a heart attack, you'll surely remember the scene where the rescue team starts using defibrillators to supposedly restart the old man's heart. What you probably didn't notice is that the assistant holding the defibrillator case throughout the scene is making a satisfied face, as if he enjoys seeing patients getting shocked, as was happening with Knuckles. So much so that he looks disappointed after Gru interrupts the shock session. Do you think that to be a part of the medical team at the villain's bank, you also need to be a villain? That would certainly explain everything.
I'm already a demon.
Still talking about the Bank of Evil, we can see that in the past, the financial institution for supervillains already had very interesting columns, with people sculpted with suffering expressions holding up the tops of the columns. However, a few years in the future, when Gru is already an adult, in the first Despicable Me movie, we see that the sculptures were replaced so that the sculpted people are now literally being crushed by the columns. Kind of a threat to those who didn't pay back their loans taken from the bank. This change probably happened after Mr. Perkins took over the bank's management, since he really is a very evil guy. Which is very clear when we see his office, where he has a huge painting of himself. What few people know is that the painting in the villain's bank manager's office is a parody of a painting of one of the greatest dictators in human history, Napoleon Bonaparte, where the former French emperor is seated on the throne. That's what I call high self-esteem, huh, Mr. Perkins? If you really love cartoons, we have some incredible news for you. We've launched a new quiz channel. In it, we'll test our knowledge about our favorite cartoons and movies, like Bluey, Peppa Pig, and many others. It will be a journey full of challenges, laughter, and lots of fun with Wavy. Don't waste any time. Subscribe now at the link in the description, or point your camera at the QR code on the screen and start playing. I'll see you there. One of the coolest things about the Despicable Me movies is discovering that the ex-villain's big dream was always to go to the moon. And this dream seems to always be a part of his life, because despite stealing the moon, he never actually got to land on it. One of the proofs that the villain still has this desire can be seen in the magnets distributed in his family's kitchen in Despicable Me 4. We can see a blue rocket among them, showing that perhaps the character passes his lunar passion to his daughters and maybe even to Gru Jr. As we know, all Despicable Me and Illumination films have hidden minions as secret Easter eggs. We find one of them hidden right at the beginning of Despicable Me 2. As soon as Gru makes a unicorn balloon for Agnes's birthday, if you look right above him, you'll see a flag full of flowers with a one-eyed minion drawn on it. And in that scene, that's not the only minion we can find. If we look at the sidewalk in front of Gru's house, we notice that the girls have made several drawings, like a beautiful rainbow. But besides that, we can also see that the girls made an excellent drawing of a one-eyed minion once again. Most people who watched the movie didn't notice this detail. Tell the truth, did you? Vector is definitely the most popular among Gru's enemies, having many fans around the world. And in the first movie, when we finally discover that he is Mr. Perkins' son, he talks about his plan to steal the moon, which he copied from Gru with his father's help. Then he shows his squid shooting weapon. The part that practically no one noticed in this scene is that when he tells his father not to worry, notice that the squid on his weapon follows the conversation. And in the end, it makes a disdainful face when Vector finishes his speech. This is definitely a detail that is hard to notice. In Minions 2, we see the yellow beings taking kung fu lessons to try to save Gru. And when they go to rescue their mini-boss, we see that the trio is wearing yellow jackets. This is a clear reference to the greatest martial arts film artist of all time, Bruce Lee, who wore the same outfit in the 1978 movie Game of Death. Someone at Illumination is a big fan of old movies. Surely you remember the game room that Gru has just for the minions and Dr. Nefario to have fun. We get to know it better when our favorite villain goes to tell his team that the Bank of Evil won't lend him the money he needs to go to the moon and steal it. At this moment, we can notice that one of the games in the room is a puzzle version of an old game. But we can see that instead of the usual game characters, there's a minion stamped on it, indicating that Gru must have built that machine just for his employees to enjoy. Moreover, the game's name is Minions Invaders, showing that besides being a game, it would also serve as training for Gru's minions. Which makes a lot of sense. After all, minions are cute, but they serve the most evil person they find. We've separated two videos that are appearing for you on the screen right now. Check out both, and then tell me which one you like the most. See you in the next video. Thanks!